All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Lawrence Battle. I'm a community engagement coordinator for Harris County Precinct One, and welcome to Precinct One's virtual community meeting. Thank you for being a part of this important discussion. Tonight, we will be discussing proposals for adding about 1.3 miles of walking trails at the Homestead Detention Basin located on Hunting Bayou near Homestead Drive and the 610 North Loop. While Harris County continues to invest in alleviating flooding in our community, green spaces intended for flood protection, like detention bases, can also provide overdue recreational opportunities and access to nature for surrounding neighborhoods. Tonight's meeting is an opportunity for us to hear from you about how this detention basin can best meet your community's needs. Our agenda includes remarks from Commissioner Rodney Ellis and from experts from the Harris County Flood Control District and the landscape architecture firm Clark Condon, who will provide more information about the detention basin and the project proposal. Next slide, please. Before we get started, I wanted to review a few housekeeping items. First, we will be taking your questions and comments following the presentation. To ask a question or make a comment, simply type it into the chat box located at the bottom of your screen. We will take questions in the order that they are received. If you have any additional comments after the meeting, you can email those to capital.projects@cp1.hctx.net, which is also located on the screen. We have allocated about 30 minutes for Q&A, but if we are unable to get to your question before the end, we will follow up with you after the meeting. Again, to ask a question, please use the chat box located at the bottom of your screen, or you can also email capital.projects@cp1.hctx.net. I believe the commissioner. Okay, so.
Hey, Lawrence, Lawrence, this
Yes.
is Amar. He wasn't able to get in. Do you want me to, why don't you start with flood control and I'll try to get him in.
I definitely will.
Thanks.
All right, so the Homestead Detention Basin is managed by the Harris County Flood Control District and was constructed as part of the Project Hunting, a partnership project with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to reduce flooding along Hunting Bayou. For an update on Project Hunting, I would like to recognize Melissa Meyer, a project manager in the Federal Projects Department at the Harris County Flood Control District. Thank you again for joining us, Melissa.
Thank you, Lawrence. We appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all tonight. As Lawrence said, my name is Melissa Meyer, and I'm the project manager at Harris County Flood Control District for Project Hunting. First, I wanted to give you all a little bit of background on Project Hunting for any of you who are not familiar with the project. Up on the screen, we have a map of the overall project. This project is a $100 million flood damage reduction partnership project between Harris County Flood Control District and the Army Corps of Engineers. This project consists of approximately 3.8 miles of channel improvements from the upstream side of 59 all the way to the downstream end past Wayside Drive. To date, we've spent approximately $40 million on this project, and the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2018 has provided $65 million for us to finish this project, and we're currently on schedule to finish this project by the end of 2021. I wanted to give you an update on recent construction that we've completed. The third and final phase of the Homestead Detention Basin was completed last year. That's that big green blob you see kind of in the middle of the screen. We have completed this work except for the wetland and tree planting, which will be completed in 2022. This is a 75-acre detention basin, which is part of the project, and it's added 1,000 acre feet, which is almost 325 million gallons of storage. Precinct One is currently evaluating amenity opportunities for the basin, and we'll speak more about those opportunities in just a few minutes. Some other recently completed work we've done are the pedestrian bridges that span at Hoffman, Dabney, and Pickfair Road, and those are all currently open for public use. We've also completed channel improvements from the basin all the way down to Liberty Drive. That's that green stretch right there. We also have some upcoming construction, which is starting. We are working on the channel improvements from 59, that's the upstream on the left-hand side of the screen there, all the way to the basin. We are widening and deepening the channel as well as adjusting utilities. This project is about $16 million and was recently awarded to Spalglass Construction. They've already received their notice to proceed and have mobilized on site. So you'll be seeing some work in the area very soon. One unique aspect of this project is that we're actually building trails with the channel improvements. Harris County Flood Control District, especially when we're working with federal monies, doesn't typically rebuild trails, but Commissioner Ellis's office has generously provided the funding to do so. So we are able to build trails along with the channel improvements in this stretch of the bayou. The upcoming construction that we have is we're currently working with Union Pacific Railroad. That's on the downstream of the project on the right-hand side. We're coordinating with them for them to rebuild 3 of their railroads in the rail yard. That should be kicking off in construction early next year. And once that's completed, we'll come back and improve the channel underneath the rail yard and all the way to the end of the project. That's the final phase of this project, and we should be finished at the end of 2021. And that is the update for Project Hunting. We appreciate the opportunity, and at this time, I'll turn it back over to you, Lawrence.
Lawrence, I might jump in now if you can hear me. This is Rodney Ellis.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I want to thank all 33 or so people that I see on the line. I don't know if you can see me. This technology, I'm on my phone. I was trying to dial in from my iPad. It wouldn't work. But look, it's an important project. You know, that neighborhood has flooded historically for years. And one reason why when we did that flood bond package, I fought to put equity language on the ballot was so we can really get in the neighborhoods. And this is one of them that historically were just neglected. And I really appreciate the support of Commissioner Garcia and also Judge Hidalgo, because the 3 of us adopted those equity guidelines that will make it possible for us to go do not just complete this project, but do more projects in neighborhoods like this one, Hunting, Greens, and Halls in particular. A passion of mine is trying to do something with linear parks. Obviously, we wish we had enough money to go put a complete built out park in every neighborhood, but we can't do that. We have made a commitment to do trails. I'm completing the Parks by You project. It was a partnership between the city and the private sector. We closed the gap, put about, I think, $7-8 million in to finish it out. Some of this money is money that will go into that. Part of this meeting tonight will be to get input from people in this community on what they would like to see along those trails. We're looking for partners, whether it's the city, if there's a management district or terrorists or some other entity to help fund it. So I don't want people in any way to think that we're going to go commit to something we cannot do. I don't have the dollar amounts in front of me here that we have committed to, but my staff will talk about it. But we're looking for partners to leverage county dollars to do more of these trails. As the previous speaker said, the primary commitment interest out here is to keep your neighborhood from flooding. Much as we want to give you a park, we don't want your home turning into a detention pond. You know, so that's why we're putting these ponds in to divert the water there. This is going to be a significant improvement in terms of helping with flooding in your area. They may have talked about it, but I saw where this project, when it's completed, you will see water surface elevation reductions of 3 to 4 feet for the 1% 100-year flooding event. The number of homes and businesses subject to a 1% 100-year flooding will drop from 5,100 to 650, and all homes and businesses will benefit from this. So it is important, and I just want to encourage people to remember the primary interest on the part of the counties is to deal with the flooding issue. And there are more projects coming in this neighborhood as well. But if we can give you a place to walk, to ride a bicycle, to run, to do something other than be in your car, we want to do that. So that's why we're doing this tonight. I want to thank you. I'm going to hop back on. You all send me that link so I can figure out how to get in here from my iPad. So I'm not having to look at it in this phone, by the way. All right.
Thank you so much, Commissioner.
All right.
Now we will turn to a presentation about the proposals to add trails and other features to the Homestead Detention Basin. But before I do, I want to make sure that everyone has access to the chat. If you're having any difficulties with that, just roll your mouse over the screen that you're currently viewing this presentation from, and you'll notice the word chat at the bottom. And if you click on that, you'll be able to scribe your remarks or your comments or questions. And again, so during the presentation, you will hear different concepts for amenities and how spaces around the trails could be used. As a reminder, you can ask questions or express your preference for certain elements of the project in the chat box. Your comments will help shape the final design. We are pleased to welcome Sheila Condon, a co-founder of Clark Condon, a Houston-based landscape architecture firm, to tell us more. Thank you again for joining us tonight, Sheila.
Thanks. Thanks, Lawrence, and welcome everybody that's on the line and on the presentation. We're very excited to be a part of this and show you some what we think are some fun ideas. But again, it's really also about your input that we're seeking. So this work actually started, the work that Melissa was describing, this all got started in April of this past year, and the project kickoff was in May. So this is a continuation now of that work. The original work was about the basin and the detention and all of those pieces. This part is about what Precinct One is bringing to the table possibly as amenities, as a recreational overlay on top of detention is the way we describe it. So what I'm going to do here over the next little bit is I'm going to walk you through some ideas. That I have two different concepts to show you, and then at the end we're hopefully get some opinion about what things you like or dislike, or if there's something else you want us to consider and put that on the table for consideration as the design moves forward. This is concept, so we're very early in the stage. We're just at the very beginning concept, so there's no construction documents yet or any detailed drawings. It's early days on this part of the design. So with that, I'll begin with the first, just a little orientation. I know you know your neighborhood, but since we had an orientation map with Melissa, you can see the blue line is Hunting Bayou, which is what she was just addressing. And then we have the Homestead Basin, the 75 acres, which is quite a large amount of green space. And you can see how well connected it is to other parts of the community. We're also going to talk about connections to Darien Street, which is the street to the north. Just again, orientation on the plan. North is at the top of the page, so when I'm referring to directions, you'll be oriented. Thanks. So again, you probably know the site pretty well, but this gives you a sense of what it looks like right now. The detention is there already. These big bodies of water attracting, great birds from our flyway, some good lookouts, nice vistas. There are some existing trees on the edges. There's open flat area already with which to install this trail, this loop trail. So we can, those are just gives you a sense of what you're looking at right now. So we're talking about this idea of amenities and what to amenitize. What are the possible ideas to amenitize the trail? As the commissioner said, debate, first and foremost, it's the idea of a trail that loops around. But in addition to the trail, we've heard things about wishes for exercise equipment, which you can see on the upper left picture and also the lower right. There's many different kinds of outdoor exercise station, and we're going to show you how we might include them in part of the project. Another piece that's really important is shade. Shade, it does a lot of things. We live in a hot, sunny climate, and so it gives us shade, but it also gives us a place maybe to set up for a gathering or it acts also as a trailhead. So you can see in the top middle, something that's more architectural out of metal, and the bottom shade is more using a sailcloth style. Also, other things to add is sort of richness to the experiences, maybe some interpretive graphics. Point while I'm talking things. Interpretive graphic signage to maybe talk about the area and explain how the detention ponds work and do some education. That would be really cool. We also, the idea of benches and picnic tables so people can gather and picnic and stop along the way. A couple of drinking fountains along the way so people can get a little bit of water, fill up their water bottle. And then plantings. We're going to talk and show you some native plantings to enhance some of the nodes along the trail. And last but not least, we are showing a small parking lot, and we're looking at a true grid product, which is serves also as detention. It's a gravel and ring product. So that's what we're talking about for the potential surfacing of the parking lot. So next we're going to go into these two different concepts, and this is the overall concept. And what this does is it illustrates the combination of what Melissa was describing and this overlay of amenities. So what you're looking at here is obviously the detention basin itself, which you can see out there now. So the light pale blue circles, that's basically where the water stays. And then all around it, labeled in 7, and we're pointing to it, is this sort of green pink area. That is the future wetland plantings that will come as part of the federal project that Melissa mentioned. And then we also have additional monies from that project that will give us the opportunity to add more trees and in a reforestation style. And we're pointing out where those groupings could possibly be along the edges of the park. Then beyond that, you can see number 1, the loop trail going all around it. It's 1.3 miles. It's a 10-foot wide concrete trail, and that would link us, and it's at the high bank. So the amenity portion that we're talking about with Precinct 1 is really from the trail to the high bank, and the federal project that Melissa described is inside the trail going down into the detention. So with that, I'm going to walk you through some enlargements to show you, and some sections just to give you a little better sense of what it feels like. So this is a pretty typical trail section. On the left side, we have the 10-foot wide concrete trail. We have back slope drainage, which is how part of the detention ponds function. And we have a generally different slopes, but generally gradual down into the lower detention and then all the way down into the water. And that little area is what will later be the aquatic plantings that would be along the edge of the water. This section is specifically the Darien Street access coming in from that neighborhood. So making it more accessible for walkers and bikers from that neighborhood, so they don't have to go all the way around to entry off of Homestead. So this shows again a generous trail, some plantings in the side swales with wetland plantings, and also adding some vertical trees to give it a little bit better sense of gateway. There'll also be some bicycle racks. So this is looking at that same area on Darien that's looking at, if you can look at the little box to just orient you. So we're again on the north side. We have a wide sidewalk coming in from Darien. Then we get to our big wide loop trail. And then the plantings on the lower part of the loop trail, or that reforestation I mentioned. And then this upper corner is the idea of a pocket of amenitizing. So what's shown in there are some shade structures, which are the bright triangle pieces. And the bright pink circles are suggesting a place to do a few exercise stations. And then this is a little loop trail, just get you off the main trail. And there's also some benches and some picnic tables tucked in there, as well as the circles. The green are shade trees, and the pink are some kind of ornamental trees. And then just in this area, we'd have a little bit of enhanced planting, some shrubs, and ground cover. Then moving further south into the southeast corner, another opportunity above the high bank. So we're on dry land, so this wouldn't flood, so these investments wouldn't get wet. We have another shade structure, some more benches, another 3 exercise stations with a bright bank, and then this nice meandering walkway, again, give you a place to be contemplative and get away from the busier, bigger trail, give you some shade and some respite. And as we continue around, Now we're up at the northwest corner, and this is where I was showing you that picture of a parking lot. So that number 5 right in the middle is the parking. So a little entry off of Homestead Road. It's just enough for about 12 cars, just for convenience parking, where people maybe that have accessibility issues can still easily get to this area. The area at the top shows another shade structure with a great view across the detention area. We've given it a tree screen, so it's enclosed. That big lawn area in the middle, the number 4, place to set up tents, throw a ball, have a gathering. And this acts also as a trailhead if you're coming in off Homestead or coming in from other neighborhoods. You can also notice on this picture, there is a future protected bike lane planned for along Homestead. So that's another amenity that's getting added to this area. As we move a little bit south, just would you point out yeah, you can see it on our key map. So there's, again, more real estate here to add some more amenities. So we're showing some bigger open areas for play, another shade structure to gather under, clusters of picnic tables, benches, a couple more exercise stations, and then a nice strong edge of a tree line to buffer you from Homestead Road itself. So that would function as another use area, another activity, again, all above the high bank. Thank you. And then these are just some views of three-dimensional views of what this can feel and look like with this idea of the shade structures, picnic tables, some enhanced planting that gives you a sense of what that can feel like. And a second view here, also up at the parking lot. And then these next 2 views are at the area next to the Darien entry. So the shade, trash cans, trees, some accent planting, again, using native materials for lower maintenance. And then this is one more view of that secondary trail off the main trail. So you can meander around there and have a little contemplative space. So that was concept 1. Concept 2, I mean, there are some differences. There are some components that are the same, and I'll point those out as we go along. So stylistically, they're a little different, and that's what we're hoping to get a little feedback from you all on some of these things which you prefer. Again, we have the overall trail, 1.3 miles, 10 feet wide, all the way around. Now we'll start again in the upper corner off of Darien. Still coming in with a nice entry to connect with our 10-foot trail. The configuration of the added enhancements in the corner still have the exercise stations with no shade structure, just trees as adding shade, also some benches tucked in there. The southeast corner, again, just a little bit of a different configuration, a grouping of exercise in kind of one cluster with some shade trees, and then some seating to overlook the long views of the detention pond. Then we have a little bit of a different design with a circular idea as a trailhead. You can come in off of Homestead from the existing sidewalk. Also the same size parking lot on this with about 12 spaces, and then some enhanced plantings to highlight that potential pavilion. Then again, moving a little bit south in this direction, we went away from being quite so formal and just have it a little more playful and a little more informal, and creating 4 different nodes instead of 2 different nodes, and also using some large shade trees to create picnic pockets at each end. And then the pink reflect flowering trees. And then we're showing a strong hedge to buffer you to give you some protection from Homestead, which, as you know, is a busy road. Again, some 3-dimensional images. This is as if you had just come walking off the sidewalk from Homestead, coming into this beautiful pavilion with some enhanced plantings, room for a couple of big family-style picnic tables underneath to give you a sense of scale. Again, and this moves you down back to Darien, showing some pull-off areas with our secondary trail as well as our primary trail, trees, native plantings, and then this lovely view looking diagonally across, again, the detention pond. So this just wanted to give you a little sense of comparison, because these are a couple of the biggest differences is how this area, which is our larger area to work with, the top one is Option 1, which is a little bit more formal, uses the shade cloth style for shade structures, and the concept 2 on the bottom is a little more playful, a little more curvilinear, and uses not shade structure cloth ones, but more of a structure, a steel structure of some kind. Again, these are very conceptual, just to get some feedback. Then the other thing we wanted to cover, everybody likes to know about schedules, and so do we. So this is showing for the work that I just showed you. Melissa already covered some of the bigger picture dates for the hunting and for the basin. This is mostly talking about the amenities on the upper bank, above the bank. So design would start hopefully in January, and that would take about 7 months to complete design documents that would then go to public bid. The bidding and permitting process takes about 5 months because we have to go through the process with the Corps. And then in that following January of 22, the purple would be the construction estimate timeline for the amenities part that I just showed you, the trail, the structures, the stage structures, the planting, all of whatever ends up, the exercise stations. And then the pink is specifically the time overlap when construction would happen to finish up the federal project, which would be the planting, both of the aquatics in the lower part of the detention pond, and also the reforestation that we showed you on the design. So that would overlap with the goal of having everything completed by summer of 2022. And we just want to all thank you for your attendance. Reminding you again, you can go to, we'll open the chat here and see if we have some questions, which we do. And then again, it's on there, the capital projects, if you want to feel more comfortable emailing. So Lawrence, are you okay if I just start walking through these questions?
I think that's good. This is Rod Nellis.
Yeah.
I think
Hi, Commissioner.
you know, I'm getting better on technology. And when I'm not on my phone, I don't know if you can see me, but I can see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see you now. Hello.
Yeah. Okay, but no, this is good. And look, I appreciate the folks from the neighborhood getting on. It's always a challenge getting the word to somebody. So you all are the leadership. So we're glad we got you. They tell me about this thing called Next Door. So this is some good news to put on Next Door. But do try to give some feedback. I did see in the chat, now that I know how to get in there, doing 1,000 of these Zooms, I can get in there. I don't know in terms of lighting. That's why I mentioned I'm looking for partners. Either we close it up or the city, or if there's some other entity could come in, because obviously you can't, there's a limit on how much we can pay for it. And normally the county would not do this. We would just go do the flooding part. But it is, when you got it out, it could be such a great view to look at water. You know, we don't want to look at it when it's flooding, but when it's not flooding, it is a spectacular thing. But I'm gonna let you go to the questions in the chat.
Okay, and I might, for the rest of our teammates, I'll direct them if I need some help, if that's okay. So we have a question about Summer Ring's wetland and tree planting and walking trails are planned for the Homestead Detention at this time. That is what I was just showing you. The answer would be yes. The tree planting and the wetland planting are already funded and part of the federal project. So the trail and the other amenities would come next. And they were, again, looking for some partnerships, as the commissioner mentioned, and also we will have to look at some partnerships for maintenance as well. I think I might need Lawrence to answer this one for me. Kathy Gunter would like to know what method we use to communicate about this to the community of Houston Gardens. Could you take that one, Lawrence?
So, yes, we use robodials, email blast. We also place this in Nextdoor, and we also attended Ms. Gunter's monthly Houston Gardens Civic Club meeting to also promote the meeting.
Thank you. Oh, and I see you've answered that already. Sorry about that. There's a question about the trail's nice. You're putting my 85-year-old mother in jeopardy of being hurt because her house is directly behind this retention pond. I think I'll just take that as a comment.
Yeah, and I just wonder if the concern is, obviously, the detention pond is going in.
It's there.
Because it is for play. It's there. And what we're doing, we're adding amenities. I will say this. I remember years ago when I was on city council, what's called the Columbia Tap now. People were worried about someone going behind their homes. Here's what we found out. When you have a trail back there, it leads to less crime of people you don't want there because there's activity. So I know in some ways we'd like to think everything's nice and quiet, but people can go back there now. You got me? Well, and they call it a desire path when people are just walking around it. But obviously we will do some security, but I think you will find most people who want to do something illegal don't want to go where it's nice and landscaped to do it. They want to go somewhere else to do it. That's about the. I saw a question about taxes. We're not planning on it. This may be, as I saw one of the other comments, one of the nicer green spaces in the immediate community. Some of folks know I ride my bike everywhere. In fact, I asked Amar earlier, should I go out there and ride this one this weekend? I think I have ridden it, but it'd be a little muddy right now. When trails out there, you could go, but I wouldn't go out there to do it now. But no, we're not planning on raising taxes. That's why others have said, we want lights, we want soccer fields, we want other things. Well, that's money. You got me? So even if it makes people mad, I'll be honest, there's a limit on how much we can do because our primary responsibility normally would be for drainage issues. And that's a city and county responsibility. We take the water when it's going in detention ponds and then to get it to bayous, to get it on out of here, eventually to the Gulf of Mexico. The city handles it in the city limits when it's coming from the drainage on your street. So this is a new area where I'm encouraging us to use some of this space. The good Lord, Reverend, I think that was your question, that I don't know the good Lord planned for us to have this many people here, but we're here now. And so we are having to take houses in other parts of the county, buy houses out, because we got to have more place for this water to go. We grew so much, as Keith Downey knows, with all this impervious cover. Keith, I don't know, Sheila, we're not planning any lighting now. That's a money issue.
Right. And most of the parks like this are generally dawn to dusk. All the Bayous 2020 program is dawn to dusk. So at this point, we had not necessarily envisioned lighting unless, as you said, there was a partner involved that wanted to maintain that and upkeep it.
And if there are partners, Keith Downing, and they'll visit with you. Look, tell our council person, whoever wins, I hope they're excited about this. Normally the county would not do this, which is why I am excited about it. But we need help to go do that because Reverend, I'm going back, a pastor, MD Mark was asking about those taxes. So if you want me to raise those taxes, we can do a whole lot more stuff.
And I think Mr. Gibson also made a comment that he says that he's open to assisting with an attempt to partner with Centerpoint Energy for efficient lighting. That's what
nice.
I love it. Good.
Yeah.
Great.
A separate issue, by the way, of course, we do those utility corridors, by the way. Now that we all trapped at home, I'm finding so many trails and places to walk since we can't go anywhere else. And I got to get out of my house before I get knocked in the head in here. And we really want to create more amenities like this for people to get out. Obviously, this pandemic will be over with long before this project is completed. But right now, we are finding a tremendous need for more of this. What about mosquito spraying controls? And when do y'all jump in on that one for me? I mean, obviously, we do have to do spraying around. The county handles that primarily. But I've not heard of it being a problem with other detention ponds. Have you?
I have not.
Yeah. No, don't. And the water's there now anyway. It won't be, I have learned in this job, it's kind of like a perfect storm. Certain times when there's a lot of rain and certain weather conditions and you get that swarming, they go crazy. They're like that in Galveston all the time. I hadn't do it in Galveston as much until this pandemic. That's the only place I can get away and go to. But no, it will not. These amenities, none of this will increase the mosquito issue beyond what we have now. We do have mosquito problems in our region.
These are some good questions and comments. Does anybody that's been chatting have an opinion about the different types of amenities we were suggesting? The exercise equipment, the water fountains, shade structures. Is there anybody like to weigh in on that? That would be really welcome. And or if you had a strong preference for either of the options, the one kind of being a little looser and more curvilinear, and one being a little bit more formal. Any comments on the proposed added amenities?
And are we going to post them online if they want to digest it to follow up?
Yeah. Yes.
On my website, or how do we?
Lawrence, where would you suggest?
So that was actually a question that that Houston Gardens Civic Club brought up yesterday, and I think that would be something that we have to kind of speak with Mar and Planning and Infrastructure.
I'd say give it to them and put it on that next door thing.
Yeah.
And to give people, put it on next door and put it on my website, whichever one they can find. But I'd send it to next door, work through. So send it to, well, you don't get to email all these people on here. If people who are on it, well, if they send in their email, we can send it to you. Yeah. Right? They can put their email in the chat.
And Jacob just said that we can put it on the website as well.
Yeah. Great. I just know sometimes there's so many places you go, you don't know where to get it. If they put in their email in here, the people on this line, send it to them and send it to the Civic Club as well.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure Ms. Gunter gets it as well to distribute for her Civic Club as well.
Thank you, Stephen Gibson, for responding on my question.
I couldn't decide when I looked at all three, I was so excited. They all looked so good to me. And then I got so excited about it, I forgot you all were asking me which one I liked. And I said, well, ask them.
There you go. That's what we're doing.
I have a question, if I may. This is Kathy Gunter from the Houston Gardens Civic Association. And
yes,
I want to thank you for presenting your plan out to the community. However, I sent out an email this afternoon, June the 16th, 2017 at 10:20 a.m. The email came from Janae Kamuch, and the email was concerning the beautification of the Homestead Detention Pond plan that was already laid out. It wasn't laid out in details as it is today, but it was given to us. Myron Jones and Melissa, both were instrumental in helping us get this information. They came out to the meeting back in 2017. And also, we have the budget that we asked for, and I asked the question on yesterday about the budget. I'm asking it again today, and I don't understand how we move from completing this project in the plan of this project in 2020 to 2022. That's one of my main questions, because we have misleading information that has misled the community, and we have it in writing. So I sent it out to my community as well. I just sent it a few minutes ago to just a copy of the email that was sent to us, and it had some of the things. They had trails, benches, they even have parking lot on here, shrub fishing, and the estimated at about, on here they have 800,000. But
I'll be happy to look at it, Ms. Gunther.
Okay.
We'd be happy to look. But let me tell you, for $800,000, you wouldn't have fishing, a parking lot. I mean,
this is what they sent us.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying I don't have it in front of me, but whatever it is, just off the top of my head, you wouldn't have fish and these trails. Give me some idea, Mark, if you don't know what it would cost to do a trail. That 1 mile trail, what does that cost alone?
Commissioner, just the trail and basic amenities, not even all the amenities, is $1.3 million. And if you find a partner to maintain some of these additional amenities, then that would be another $400,000 that we are estimating. This is a preliminary estimate prior to receiving community input. So if we find a partner to maintain these amenities, the project is already at $1.7 million. So it's much more than the $800,000 that Ms. Gunther is mentioning in the email. So my understanding is some amount of planning work was done when the detention basin was under planning phase, but the design has changed for the detention basin. The size of the detention basin has increased, and so.
And the primary responsibility, Ms. Gunther, of this is for flooding. And flood control pays for that. And then the precinct is coming in. It's not something we would normally do, but I want to do it for you. And obviously, if they came back and said, you know what, based on what we need for flooding, we need more of this land. That's the primary goal. It's not green space. The green space is an add-on. And we want you to work with us. I don't want to plan and drag it out, and I'll be in a wheelchair by the time we get a trail in. But the primary goal is to deal with flooding issues. And obviously, yeah,
I do want to ask you a question right quick, because the Harris County Flood Control is one entity. And this is what we were told. Harris County Flood Control completed their part. And that was to control the flooding. Precinct One, Commissioner Precinct One office was Harris County Precinct One was to do the amenities. That is what was rolled out to us. So one is different from a little bit different from the other. According to what was rolled out to us.
So you got the horse. You got the horse right now. You get it from the horse's mouth. We're going to do as much as we can. Well, we got a massive amount of land with 1.2 million people. And obviously we can't do everything that every neighborhood wants. There's a big difference between the ask and
right.
the
We're just asking. We're just asking. That's it. And also about the Union Pacific, she mentioned about the partnering, City of Houston partnership and with the with Union Pacific. We want to know a little bit more about that partnership or how we can get involved with that.
Okay. I saw a question here where someone says, would love to see Langley Road, Highway 59 retention basin upgraded to do something similar to this. We are doing a massive number of detention ponds. And obviously, it all goes back to somebody's question about money, Reverend. If we want to raise taxes, we could make every detention pond look like Herman Park, but we're going to have to raise your taxes to do it. So, Ms. Gunther, that's where you kind of balance out what you can do. And this one, because it's so large, you know, and when you have that much water in there, and they are wet bottom year round, certain parts of it, sometimes more than others, it makes sense to do it where more people would be able to benefit from it and use it. But as much as I'd like to, we don't have the money to go do it at every detention pond out there. So we kind of pick and choose which ones we can do it in based on how many people have access to it and a community wanting it. So like if we go to a community and we spend a lot of time having to argue about what to put in, then all of the money will be gone someplace else. And then we have to wait until taxes are raised to come up with enough money to do it somewhere else. I saw a question about parking buses in there.
Yeah, I saw that too. I would say that to really successfully do a school bus, we just have to look at the layout a little differently because it's a dead end parking lot, because it's really meant for just casual convenience. So we would just have to look at how to circulate that because they don't like to back up those buses. I think we could configure it if that became a desire to bring school kids here on trips. I think that's just looking at the layout. I'm not up to speed on whether there is a Metro bus stop really close to here or not.
And I think we could get Metro. I know we're going to put the bike lanes in. That's a separate county expenditure, all of us in the city.
Right.
We're doing a bike lane on Homestead. I think Metro would work with us if there was enough traffic. They won't put a bus stop everywhere, but if there's enough traffic, going to the retention pond, we could do it.
Commissioner Ellis, this is Myron. Hey, on that Langley Road detention basin off of Highway 59, this is the one you called me about a while back, the one I told you it's in Precinct 1 and Precinct 2.
Yeah,
We're actually looking into that one with you guys and also Precinct 2. That's what we can do around that one as well. So that is in the
because as you know, when I'm out riding around and I see one, you know, of course, sometimes, hey, my ideas are bigger than the pocketbook. You got me? And usually
Yes.
that's, if I had my druthers, I'm trying to figure out if I get the support to go get the toll road folks to pay to put trails in. I think it's about, Amar, is it about $1 million a mile? When you're in a detention pond like this, you can't do asphalt. You got to put concrete down because it's going to flood. The water will come up from time to time. Is that right? About $1 million per mile? Amar,
Yeah, I think so. For trails, the typical cost is $1 million to $1.25 million a mile, depending on if you have any bridges or any of those other considerations. We can do asphalt, but what we have found out that with asphalt, the initial cost may be a little bit less, not a lot of less cost, but the maintenance and other things in the long term, it may be better doing just the concrete in the long run. Now, we have looked at other possibilities and for other design options that may be less expensive also.
I want to, before I sign off, I hear that water coming down and I know I got that leak down there in my house. I got to go check on. I hear that water coming down there. I want to stress to the folks who are on the call, look at the plans, try to give some input. I mean, when it kind of hits you cold, when it hit me, first I thought I was looking at the same thing. I was just so excited and glad that we're able to take some of your tax dollars to go do some of these linear parks. It's a lot cheaper, obviously, than trying to do a complete park where you're doing a community center and everything else. We wouldn't have the money. But try to get us some feedback as soon as you can on which of these designs that the Condon firm has come up with you like. And maybe it's a mixture. I think, Amar,
Right.
is that where I left it? I said maybe it's a mixture of the two.
Absolutely.
By the way, there is a bus at Darien and Molly, which is at the north entrance.
Perfect.
It is less than a block away.
Thank you.
Secondly,
Sounds like Sloan. Is that you, Sloan?
yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
One other quick question. The main entrance to the basin parking area is
Yes.
also the area where the batch plant concrete trucks use for turnaround. And if there's not some barrier or some sort of device put there to stop that, then you'll probably wind up losing that entrance because the concrete trucks use that as a turnaround.
Okay,
Just
thank
FYI.
you. No, thank
Sure.
you. We can adjust that. Appreciate that feedback.
Oh, that is a good one. Although Mr. Sloan will be out there, if we get out there marching on that concrete plant,
That could happen.
get one of these days, hey, I tried it for 26 years and tried to get a law pass to put them out of business. Of course, we're going to use concrete to put that 1.5-mile trail in.
We might be able to get it cheaper.
Who will maintain the right of way? I said right. You meant right? I think you meant right of way. Who does that? The trail will have to maintain it. I know flood control makes sure we do that. I think she meant right of way.
I
saw that
understand
question
the
pop
question
up.
also. So when we do the improvements top of bank, we will maintain the top of bank the improvements, and flood control would be responsible for maintaining the detention basin itself. That is the general rule of thumb between any improvements that we do would be maintained by the precinct. Again, if for enhancements, we would want to partner with the organization if we want to do any additional enhancements.
Oh, that was Kathy asking about right of way between the sidewalk and the street and the sidewalk. We would have to do that, right?
The right of way between the street and the sidewalk. Anything in the public right of way is maintained by the city of Houston. So
No.
we may make any improvements between the If
Oh,
the
when we
sidewalk
get on
is,
that
if the-
land, it's like when I do a bike trail. We put the bike trail in on Homestead. We'll maintain it for 1 year. It may
yes,
take a year to put it in. Then we turn it over to the city. It is their street.
yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
And then obviously there's some concerns as we put trails in, will the city have the money to do it? Look, we try to work together, and I take the attitude, if we put them in, people using them, Pastor Morrison, you know, we have to go make the case to the community. If you want these amenities, we got to pay for them. You know, same way with the streets when they go in. You know, we're putting a lot of money on city streets. We're doing streets around Texas Southern, University of Houston, about $30+ million, but we can't maintain them after we put them in. You know, maybe we'll go and clean them one time. We're cleaning some of the bike lanes. We're going to work with our partners at the city. But at the end of the day, I don't think you want us to not bring amenities into these communities because we're still working with one another to figure out how to maintain them. I hope we make the case. City has a revenue cap. Legislature's putting caps on the county as well. But we all want to improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods. And I think this is going to be a great improvement for the quality of life for people in this neighborhood.
Commissioner Ellis, this is Keith Downey. Right there at Miley, from Miley down to that bridge, that's a speed zone through there. Also, just keep that in mind too. There's been quite a few accidents and few people killed. So
Yeah.
maybe a traffic light or what have you, something to slow people down. If you've got them going into a park area or what have you, but just keep in mind you got a lot of trucks, cars, and what have you, and some 18-wheelers and 16-wheelers through there.
And Keith, help me. I mean, talk to the folks running for the council seat and the mayor, because we're doing something that is unprecedented with the amount of money we're spending in the city. Now, you know, a lot of people don't realize it, but you know, you got 2.2 million people in the city and 2.2 million people in the county who are not in a city, not Pasadena. I think by putting that bike lane in, talking about Homestead, right?
Mhm.
By putting that
Yes.
bike lane in, what I have learned, Keith, I didn't know it all those years I was in the Senate. The wider the street, it says to us, zoom. You keep going, you know, go faster. So when we take some of that road, is it a bike lane on each side?
Yes,
Mark?
Commissioner. Yes,
Okay,
Commissioner.
so we're gonna narrow the street
That's gonna get somebody killed.
and that slows them down. And we're gonna put protectors in there along it, but the city would make that decision on putting a light in. What does a light cost, Mark?
Commissioner, just to let you know and everyone know, we only have 7 minutes left before
Okay.
the meeting
Yeah.
abruptly
Okay.
ends. So are there any other questions about the amenities of the Homestead Detention Basin itself?
Yeah, the Union Pacific question, that's still on the table. I just want to know how you guys are going to be partnering with Union Pacific. I wanted more information about that partnership.
This is Melissa Meyer at Harris County Flood Control District. It's not really a partnership per se. We do have, Harris County Flood Control does have an agreement with Union Pacific for us to provide funding to get some of their bridges rebuilt as part of the federal project, but we don't have a general partnership with them. Their bridges are part of the federal projects.
So we're using our political clout to get them federal money to redo the bridges.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
But to answer her question, we can't make the railroad do anything. I wish we could, but we can't.
Correct.
Commissioner Ellis, this is Huey German Wilson.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Sorry I was late to your call, but to Kathy's question, can we ask that you give them the will to do some things? Because that's the problem we're having with Union Pacific. And I know there's a right of way there adjacent to the detention pond that would be probably better used for the detention pond than it is as a green space right now, because the railroad doesn't keep it up. So it might be a little more space.
Is there right away?
It's the Union
Yes.
Pacific's right away, if I'm not mistaken.
Union
But it
Pacific.
might be something that you guys could utilize in the detention area as more space for the amenities that we're looking for. It's just a suggestion.
Is that the green space before you get to the Valero? Is that, are we talking about the same space?
Correct.
That's it, right, John?
Absolutely.
It's the space north of the detention pond.
Mm-hmm.
So it's we don't want to force them to do
Yeah.
anything, but we'd like to get
Well,
them to feel inclined to do some
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, we'll ask Myron, is there any reason why flood control would need that right of space, that right of way?
We tried in the beginning of the federal project. We did try to buy that adjacent area just east of where the basin is now and north of the basin as well. But we weren't able to get that property from them.
And when we, even if you all wanted it, even if you would take it by eminent domain, you got to pay them. You fight. First of all, we fighting with a railroad. That's an uphill battle in court with them to go get it. But so sounds like, listen, from what you say, you all would try that, because it'd be a separate issue for me to go buy it in Precinct One. We wouldn't have the money anyway. But if you all were buying it for detention or retention purposes, you get it if you could, but they wouldn't sell it.
That's correct. And it took us actually 10 years to get the property we were able to get for them. So like you said, it was a bit of an uphill battle.
Were you not guys working on that? This is the first time we're hearing that. So we've met with you, Melissa and Mr. Jones, and it's just it amazes me that when we asked the questions, we couldn't get no answer. And tonight we're hearing that you tried and you couldn't get any. You didn't get a response. I find that very amazing, and I'm angry. I'm angry because some of the things that we've been told tonight contradict some of the things we've been told in meetings and email. This is not the first meeting we've had. So we'll talk about it later, and we'll bring up more facts and details at a later time.
Well,
but I am going to put that out there. I'm not going to let you get away with that.
Well, Ms. Kathy, when me and Melissa came out to your civic club, we were providing updates on the current phase that was under construction. Now, what Melissa was talking about was before we even began the project. So this predates all of us probably with the county and with flood control. So that's what she's giving a little bit more history on before we even began the project, which is probably what, 2013, 14, whenever it was, when we first started digging dirt out there. So that's a little bit more history of what she provided tonight.
I understand. I understand very well what she provided tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, look, I want to thank you all. Please look at it. I saw a couple of emails pop in there. I think it's a great opportunity. I hope you all are excited about it. And hopefully we can get this done soon. Because if not, I know some other retention and detention ponds who'll be asking for it. And look, talk to the city as civic club leaders to see if we can get some help and we can do even more. But let's get it done. Everybody stay safe. Look, we talked so long, the water stopped. The rain stopped, at least outside my window.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
thank you. Please put your
Thank you all
emails
for
in
doing
there.